All right, now onto the wiggle butt. So all these are moves that you're probably already familiar with, but giving it a little bit of a different intentionality to it, really kind of letting your pelvis open up with your breath sequence, widening through your sit bones, letting your tailbone extend on that inhale, just like your belly expands on that inhale. And then on that exhale, just letting go, letting your body melt, letting gravity win while you're simultaneously sort of holding that position still. Let's go with it. So starting off with just a real simple cat camel. So my hands are underneath my shoulders, my knees are right underneath my hips, and I'm gonna tuck my tailbone, tuck my head, arch my back into that angry cat, just for reference on that simple movement position. And then for that camel, letting my belly fall, lifting through my tailbone and lifting through my chest. I really kind of challenge you to lift through your sternum with this and not crank on your neck to lift up higher. So let your chest and your shoulders guide that movement, a soft gaze forward. I'm not pushing or stressing or straining through my back. I'm just letting it softly hang. Okay, now let's add the wiggle butts in. So we're gonna go ahead back into that angry cat, getting a nice stretch, but now I'm just gonna shift my hips side to side, shift my shoulders a little side to side, kind of letting that movement loosen up through my hips and backs a little bit more, sinking down into that camel again, not stressing or straining, just lifting through my chest, lifting through my tailbone, letting my belly fall, and again, a little bit of wiggle butts. Opening through the back of that pelvis, opening through the hips, opening through the shoulders, just kind of letting that movement feel your body good. And then going through that sequence however many times feels good for you. Next, we're gonna go ahead, stay in the same hands and knees position, and I'm gonna bring my right leg out to the side. The inside of my foot is flat on the ground, or as flat as you're able to. My leg is straight out as I'm able to. You might have to be back a little bit, and that's okay to start, but just challenge yourself over time to have it straight out. From here, I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna slide it through my left arm and left knee. I might even use my fingers to crawl myself around a little bit. I'm pointing my chest and pointing my belly button towards my left. I'm feeling an opening through my right inner thigh and an opening through my left outer hip and a lot of rotation through my spine. And then I'm gonna bring that arm through, reaching up towards the ceiling, opening my body fully to the right as far as I can. Now I'm really feeling an opening through the left inner hip and thigh as I do that. I'll do this for a couple of sequences, all on one side, or certainly if you want to alternate sides as you go, you do what feels best for you, maybe holding each one for a breath sequence. And then I'll shift to the other side, starting through the center, bringing my left leg straight out to the side, reaching my left hand through my right hand and right knee, letting my body twist and rotate as far to the left as I can, really feeling, or excuse me, to the right as I can, really feeling an opening and stretching through my left inner thigh, also feeling a stretching and opening through my right outer hip, and then unfurling that twist, opening up all the way to the left as I can, really feeling that rotation on my right hip as it's supporting me in this position. And again, maybe going very slowly through that sequence series or doing it at a comfortable pace for yourself. From there, I'm gonna go ahead, go into a downward dog and cobra sequence. So this is a pretty challenging one, but I like having full contact with the ground each time with it. So my hands are planted underneath my shoulders. I'm gonna now tuck my toes underneath me. I'm gonna lift my knees off the ground as I lift my hips up towards the sky, trying to settle my heels towards the ground, trying to lift my sit bones up towards the sky, trying to bring my shoulder blades down my back, and making as close to a triangle with your body as you're able to. I'm gonna then lower myself, if you're able to lower yourself down to a plank, letting those hips settle, opening up into that cobra position, letting my feet settle, opening through my chest. With this, again, I'm gonna go back into that downward dog. But then let's add those wiggles in. So maybe I'm gonna pedal my knees and my feet. Maybe I'm gonna wiggle my hips side to side, wiggle my shoulders. Again, I'm still reaching my heels towards the ground. I'm still reaching my butt towards the ceiling, pressing my chest down towards my thighs, but with that little bit of movement, allowing my body to loosen up as able in this challenging position. If coming straight down into a plank is a little bit hard, maybe bring your knees down first and then lower your body into that cobra position. Now, if you're finding yourself lifted in that because you just can't touch your hips down, maybe bringing your arms forward is a little bit more of a comfortable position for you, or maybe bringing your elbows to the ground. But again, shaking through my shoulders, shaking through my hips, noticing am I clenching my butt or my thighs in that position, especially if you're a little bit limited or if you're in that full extension position, just shaking a little bit to make sure you're nice and loose. And then just cycling through that series. Again, maybe holding it for a breath sequence or two, or just doing it until your body feels nice and loosened and feels a little bit good. Okay, again, a little bit more challenging, but I'm gonna start on my hands and knees. I'm gonna set my feet down on the floor, and then I'm gonna keep my hands on the floor as I lift my hips towards the sky, straightening as much as you're able to, letting your head hang as you're able to. And then I'm gonna sit my butt down. I'm keeping my hands on the floor for a bit of balance here, trying to come down into a deep squat. If you're able to keep your heels down, that's really great. But if you need to let your heels come off the floor, then that's okay as you come into that deep squat position. Trying to lift through the chest, trying to sink your hips down, trying to have those knees lifted and your feet relatively straight. If you can't have your heels down flat, you might rock back just a little bit to try to get a little bit more mobility through there, a little bit more balance. But I'm gonna keep my hands close to the floor as I do that so that I don't fall back. Hands still on the floor, coming up, lifting my hips towards the sky, letting my head hang, giving a little bit of wiggle through the shoulders, giving a little wiggle through the butt and the hips, trying to just let go. And then again, coming down into that deep squat, or you'll hear this called toddler squat as well, thinking about how a toddler just hangs out into that deep squat playing with their toys. And again, maybe a little bit of wiggle back and forth through the shoulders, through the hips feels good. Now, if that's a little bit too challenging for you to do, what you can do is come to a doorway, or if you have access to like a squat rack or any strong, sturdy pole, you can just grab the inside of that door frame and sit yourself back, holding on for a little bit of that balance as you sit into that squat. Again, maybe gain a little wiggle back and forth. Perhaps that gives you a little bit more stability as you work on that position. Okay, but if you stayed on the mat, then I like after those hard series to just come back into a happy baby. So I'll kind of go back to that forward fold and deep squat. I did a few rounds here after all that big mobilization series. And then I'm just gonna come down to the floor, settle myself down to the ground. If you like that spinal roll like a ball, or just going down to your side. And then from there, lifting one leg at a time, if you're able to, grabbing the bottom of your feet as both legs are up in that position, letting your knees fall to the ground, opening wide to the pelvis. If that's a little bit too challenging, you can certainly grab the back of your legs, pulling down into that position, or maybe even the back of your knees and letting your feet relax a little bit more. But again, if you're able to get that full stretch with your hands at the bottom of your feet or even the bottom of your toes. Hanging out here for a few breath cycles. On that inhale, really feeling that breath fill the bottom of your pelvis, expanding through your sit bones, expanding through your tailbone. On that exhale, just simply letting go, letting gravity take over the weight of your legs. My arms are just relaxed in this position. And again, if you need to rock side to side or give a little bit of wiggle, a little bit of very gentle movement to this to just let your body let go a little bit more, use it as you can. And then certainly letting your legs come down from there. If you need to, certainly very common in yoga practice to just lay flat for a moment, letting your whole body let go, but just whatever feels good for you to finish off that whole series. I hope that's helpful for you. Sometimes it's really challenging to slow down, take those breaths, and even direct your breath to different parts of the body. But it's going to do a lot of good for your overall health, your mental health, your physical health, and especially your pelvic health.